Welcome to the Travel Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Vandenberg. On our show, I interview and connect with leaders across travel, hospitality, and tourism. We talk leadership in our industry, what has shaped them, the successes, failures, and everything in between. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Horace T. Brooks, General Manager at the Courtyard by Marriott, Key Largo. The Travel Leader Podcast is brought to you by The Travel Leader, a leadership coaching and content company. I provide leadership coaching and workshops for individuals and teams to accelerate leadership performance. Learn more at www.thetravelleadercoach.com. Well, hello. Welcome to the Travel Leader Podcast. I am super excited to be here today with Horace T. Brooks, the General Manager of the Marriott Hotel in Key Largo. Thank you for being here today.
It's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you reached out. You've been on some other podcasts, and I saw that we had this shared passion for leadership, which is what this talk and podcast is all about. So, really excited to hear about your insights and your own journey in leadership today. So, to get us started, what is the red thread throughout your travel and hospitality career?
I think the answer is confidence. And confidence, and to share why it's confidence, I need to go a step back before I got into hospitality, actually. So when I was at college, the University of the Virgin Islands, I'm actually from St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. I got involved in an organization called Student Government Association. And I ran and I became the president for my senior year. And it was quite an interesting year. That's a book to be written by itself. And after I graduated from this university, I got an offer for a position in the local government in the executive branch that, quite frankly, I shouldn't have gotten because I was too young for that such a prestigious and important position. I was working with persons who were 30 years older than I was, 40 years older than I was, but here I was, a novice in government. But I did that job for 7.5 years to the best of my ability. And I gained such confidence that I could do anything after that. And when I got in hospitality, from day one, literally from day one, I was probably the most confident person in the room every single time. And that
Wow.
confidence has been with me since day one, all the way through my hospitality career.
Yeah. Well, you had an experience in which started with the student government experience. Could you say more about what was it about that built your confidence?
With student government, did not even plan to get involved. But there was a gentleman who started the university with me, and he was the student president, government president. And he said to me one day, I was in his office, very nice office, by the way, up on top of a hill with a nice view. And he said, why don't you do this? I said, do what? He said, run for student government. I said, me? It had never crossed my mind until he said it. And he said it 3 times in a span of 1 week. And then 2 young ladies who wanted to be part of the student government came to me and said, why not run together with us to be the president? So I ran and we won by a landslide. Here I was, now student government president, in charge of the whole entire student body, organizations, committees, funding, everything. And we did the job really well. And then when I left and I went to work for the executive branch of the local government, I was what you call a body man, the body man to the governor of the United States Virgin Islands. And in that position, you are basically the left and the right hand of the chief executive. You are in charge of his schedule, his travel, where he goes, what he does. You're usually the last man in the room. And I did that for 7.5 years, and I did it well based on what he told me and based on what everyone else told me. I did it so well that I ended up in a book that was written by a local author about the administration and the term. Because I had done it so well at such a young age, dealing with persons that were such older than me and who were experienced, my confidence was through the roof from there from going forward. So once we left office and I went into hospitality, actually the first job I went for in hospitality, I was a managerial position because I thought I was confident. I thought I can do it. And they flat out told me, no, you're not ready for that. So they gave me another position, which I took. But my confidence was from day
But
one. I always thought I was the most confident
yeah,
person in the room. And I figured any job that I put my mind to, I'll be able to get it done.
yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting what you said. This is actually a theme that I've heard in other conversations with leaders that sometimes it takes other people expanding your own awareness about your true potential, and that someone saw in you the ability to be student council president, student government president, and to take this local government position and to do it well. And thereafter, you rose to the occasion.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing, and through that experience, you further developed your confidence for the next steps of your career. That's a great story. I love that.
It was and I always, that job was honestly, even though I've been in hospitality now for since 2007, that job with the local government, working so close with the governor, was actually the best job I've had in my career by far.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think there's a lot of career ahead of you. So, there's more that can happen. I'm sure of it.
That's true.
How would someone you work how would someone you work closely with describe you as a leader?
They would say that I am one who cares and I am one who listens. And I'm also one who don't say much. My staff, and I'll give you this example. Last year, June, I decided I need to take some time off because I work extremely hard for them. So last year I decided I was going to take some time off, and I didn't tell no one I was going except, of course, my boss knew, but no one else knew I was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that last May 31st, I was in my office very late that night, and then the next day I left, and 1 week passed, and I didn't come back. 2 weeks passed, I still didn't come back. 3 weeks passed. Now they were getting really concerned. 4 weeks passed. What's what's going on? And after 5 weeks, I showed up. I literally come off the elevator and mouths were open, eyes went wide. They were like, "Oh my God, he's back!" And the reason why I say my impressed with say that I care is because of this. As I got out of that elevator, I felt two hands went around my waist, and I had no idea who it was. It was a housekeeper who never said much besides good morning, who never gave the inkling that if I were to be gone 5 weeks, she would miss me. She literally gave me one of the biggest bear hugs I ever felt in my life. And she smiled and then she ran away. An hour later, I was standing inside. The courtyard has a bistro, a restaurant. I was standing inside the bistro talking to my staff. And a houseman from housekeeping saw me. He dropped his cart, ran into the restaurant, ran around the counter, and gave me a hug. And he asked me, his words verbatim were, "Boss, are you back?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he was the happiest guy in that property for the entire day. My staff will tell you that I care
Oh,
because I truly, genuinely do, and I demonstrate it to them every single day. It is for them why I go to work 6 o'clock in the morning with a smile on my face, ready to do the work that we have to do for them. My staff would also say that I listen. Usually they walk into my office and they'll ask the question. They always ask the question, regardless of whether it's someone in my restaurant, my housekeeping team, our front office. they usually ask the question, are you busy? My response is always the same. Yes, I am, but how can I help? And whatever it is they have
Yeah.
to talk about, I give them my undivided attention. If I put my cell phone away, put my papers down, and look at them and give them my undivided attention. So that's two things they'll always say. He cares and he listens.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that story you just told about your vacation, I mean, that's such evidence of that deep presence that you provide to your team and how deeply it was felt when you were gone.
Yes, I was.
A and I can imagine they also, as a result, would never take it for granted again with you being gone,
That's
uh,
true.
that long. But so I'm curious about something. So what was for you the purpose of not telling them that you were going?
My like I said, my superior know that I was leaving. There was one other person that I told, one supervisor who worked in the front office that I told I was leaving, but I didn't want him to worry. Even though I knew when I was gone they were gonna worry, I didn't want him to worry. I figured let him worry for a week or two versus a month and a half. Because if I told him I was going for a
Mhm.
month and a half, they was gonna assume something was wrong. Because usually I don't go that long. I usually go for 4 days and I come back. 3 days and I come
Right.
back. But I didn't want him to worry that okay, what's going on? Something's wrong. He's not telling us. What is it? And they were gonna. I didn't want him to worry from day one until I come back. So that's my main reason why I didn't want to do that. When I got
Yeah.
back, like I said, they were elated, of course, when I returned back to work. But I just
Yeah.
didn't want him to worry. I just didn't want him to worry.
Yeah.
It's like it's usually I tell some of my staff, if it's something you need to know, I will tell you. If I don't tell you, don't ever worry.
Yeah. I mean, what it represents for me too is the deep confidence that you had in your team
Yeah,
that
absolutely,
they could handle you being away for that
absolutely,
period of time.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
very confident that I know they were gonna get the job done. I never had to worry one time, and I was away for that time, and it was good for me, and it was good for them because they grew as individuals and as a team during that time I was away as well.
Yeah. A lot to be said for that. So who are you at your core beyond the titles and roles you play?
Who am I? For one thing, I'm an introvert. No one ever believes me when I say that, but I am. I did a test many years ago with another group of leaders at a luxury property I worked at, and it came back without beyond a shadow of a doubt that Horace T. Brooks is an introvert. Uh, so that's one.
How did you I just want to, sorry to interrupt, but how did you feel about that when that came as a result?
I was not surprised. I was not. I knew it was gonna come back that way. I am. It's funny. Give me a mic and give me a audience of 10,000 people, and I am at home. I am at home with that. But at the same time, I'm the person that can go into a room with 25 other persons and disappear, even though I'm right there.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm an introvert. Two,
Yeah.
I genuinely care about seeing people progress, seeing people learn and grow. That is that is why leadership is a passion of mine. Because leaders, not managers, have a responsibility to make sure the person that they're in charge of excel, grow, and learn. And that's why I'm at the core. It means a lot to me. I focus on it. I sleep it. I eat it. I breathe it every single day. That's who I am. And I'm also someone who likes to laugh. I don't tell good jokes,
Yeah.
but I like to laugh.
Yeah. So you surround yourself with people who do tell the good
Yeah,
jokes, right?
absolutely. Yes. They
Yeah.
tell it and I laugh. And I laugh.
Yeah. That that idea of helping foster learning and growth of those around you. How do you model that yourself?
I, no, I show them through my commitment to myself learning and growing. Even though right now I'm the general manager for the hotel in this position that I'm at right now, this is not the end. There's other positions that I have my eye on right now as we speak. And I show them by they see me getting prepared for that next role. Sometimes they may say, okay, you're looking at the numbers, you're looking at the revenue projections. Why? You don't want to be a revenue manager. You're already a GM. But at the same time, I know to be ready for the next position that I have in mind, I need to make sure I am as versed on the revenue aspect of any hotel as possible. So I show them by demonstrating it myself, and then I put the tools in place for them to learn and grow as well. There's one of my older, well, the hotel that I work for, the company I work for most was the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. I spent over 10 years with the Ritz-Carlton. So as they say in Wisconsin, we bleed blue. We don't bleed red. And I spent 10 plus years there, and they have service values. And one of the service values that was my favorite was number 8. I have the opportunity to learn and to grow. And ever since I left the company, I've taken that service value with me in all my areas, and employ and encourage my staff to learn and grow every single day. And while I tell them that, I demonstrate it by doing it myself so they can see and do what I do.
Yeah. And the nuance that you mentioned about learning and growth that I think is really interesting is that it's not just for learning's sake, but having your eye on the next step and the next position and where you can stretch yourself right now where you are in order to be prepared for that next step and already having the foresight to think about that. I think that's a really important differentiation.
It is, and it speaks to the what I've mentioned and some other podcasts I've been on. And when I speak to schools, I just came from speaking to Florida International University and the Chapman School of Hospitality and Tourism Management, and I told them with a smile on my face, I said, okay, ladies and gentlemen, you have 2 years. In any position, you have 2 years. And I share with you what I shared with them. And they asked, why 2 years? I said, because in the first 6 months, you're going to do all the mistakes you need to make. Make as many mistakes as you can, mess up as you can in the first 6 months. You have 6 months to mess up. The next 6 months after that, you become a master at your position. Be the one that everyone goes to when they have any questions or concerns. Become the master at it. In the third 6 months, you demonstrate that you're the master, but you also make sure you take others along with you. Teach others what you know so they can learn and grow as well. And do it and make sure that you do it the best of your ability every single day. Do not take a day off. And once you've mastered and you demonstrate that you teach others as well, in the last 6 months, you apply and you get out. You don't have to leave the company. You don't have to leave the hotel. You just have to leave the position and go for the next one. That's my
Yeah,
advice.
to continue on that growth path, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's very sage advice. Those students were lucky to hear
And
to
they're
hear some of your
right in every
experience
word.
around that. Yeah. What standards do you hold yourself accountable to, and how do you model those for others?
I want my staff, I want anyone that I speak to, and I said this the last speech that I gave, that I want everyone to give the best version of themselves. I want everyone to give the best version of themselves. I speak often about being average, and no one should settle for being average. Everyone should try the very best to be above average and then to give the best of themselves. And I ask my teams to do this. I ask my ladies and gentlemen to do this. But first, I do it myself. I give the best of myself every single day. And I do it in subtle ways. I show up to work extra early. So when they walk in, I am there. I ensure that I am complete in anything any task that I do that they are aware of. I make sure I'm complete and thorough in it and give the best product so they can see. When it comes to learning and growing, I make sure they see me learning and growing so they can also too can learn and grow. I want them to know that I feel they're the best team in any hotel, and that's because I feel I'm the best leader in any hotel. There goes that confidence again.
Yeah.
So the standards that I have for them, they can visually see that I live up to those same standards as well. And that's key. That's key to being a leader. If your ladies and gentlemen don't believe what you're saying because they see it, soon you'll be a leader without any followers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100% that, that authenticity and yeah, I mean, authenticity and the walking the talk, right?
Yes,
For sure is critical.
absolutely.
And I love how you give the specific examples to those standards around, showing your commitment and following through and being complete and thorough in your work. Yeah, those are all standards we should hold ourselves to.
I agree. And the standards could be something major or something very minor. This is a very minor example. In my hotel, the towels are put up for the guests to grab and go with, and they're put in a cabana. And I am a stickler for the towels being lined up properly. And we have driven those standards home with my ladies and gentlemen. So when we are even my overnight front office agent, when she's putting the towels out, she is so I don't want to say she's terrified, but she is very cognizant of the fact that the towels need to be straight because that is the standard the hotel, the GM, and our ladies and gentlemen have to measure up to. The towels must be straight so when the guests see them, even though the guests may just grab and go, the guests will recognize that, you know what, this hotel isn't just a hotel of people, it's a hotel of standards as well. So that's a little example, but it goes a long way.
Right. I mean, that, that one small example becomes symbolic, right? For all the things and the culture of your company and your hotel and what it means to carry through that standard throughout.
Yes,
For sure.
exactly.
What inspires and motivates you to create meaningful impact?
I'm going to sound like a broken record because it goes back to the ladies and gentlemen that work for me. The reason why I'm excited to get to my office at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I know my ladies and gentlemen will be there at 7, will be there at 8, will be there at 9, and to help them achieve things that they never thought they could achieve. Help them achieve things that before I came, they couldn't, but when I'm ready to go, they will be able to have done so. I literally go to work every day for them. And that's been my mantra for my entire hospitality career. It's about them. This is I tell them all the time, I am the general manager of that hotel. I am blessed to be in a position, but I'm the least important person there. I'm the least important person there. They are more important than me. And I literally go to work every day excited to see their faces and to help them achieve things they never thought they could achieve in this business. And I've done so throughout. And you go back to caring. There was a young lady that worked for me who was going to school, university, online, and she had an assignment that was due that day. She came to work at 3 o'clock, and I saw her face when she walked in. And she's usually very jovial, very on, ready to work. But her face was telling me a different story that day. So I pulled her aside and I asked her, I said, Alexandra, what's wrong? And she told me she had a paper that was due. And I know she was a very good student. So for her to be bothered with that meant it was that important to get it done that day. I looked at her, I turned to her and I said, go ahead, punch back out, take the 2, 3, 4 hours you need, finish your paper, and come back to work. She said, who's going to work at the front desk? I said, you're looking at him. And I went to work for the front desk for 4 hours, let her clock out, went to complete her paper, and she came back. And she was so, so happy and thankful for that moment. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what leadership is about. It's about caring for your employees as people first and employees second.
Yeah. Well, and you know that, I mean, what you've just demonstrated to her is your investment in her. And, ultimately, that is only going to pay back in terms of her commitment to the hotel.
Yeah, and it did. It did. She was a very good front desk agent since that day. Before that, and after that, she was a superstar.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that is, I mean, that's where we started the question, what inspires you? And it's this, you're inspired by them,
Yeah.
and then when you show them that you care, they become inspired and motivated to give more of themselves to the hotel.
One thing that I've
So
always
that's
enjoyed
a
in my
great.
hospitality career is when we have the awards for the quarter, the awards for the year. And every almost if I have nominated 30 of my employees, 28 have won. And that is because and I always tell people it's the ability to choose the right employees because they are demonstrated that they are really done the work they needed to do and it went beyond, above and beyond. But also the passion in the story that you write about them. There's a young man who works for me right now in the bistro at the Courtyard Hotel. And the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association had their awards back in April. And I nominated one person, him. I'm the kind of leader that I don't just nominate someone unless they deserve it. I've gone years without nominating a person because I didn't think they would deserve it. But this young man, I nominated him for this award. And I wrote this story about him and turned it into the Florida Retail and Lodging Association. And Rachel, I knew he was going to win. There was never a doubt in my mind. And I keep telling him weeks leading up, I said, you're going to win, you're going to win, you are going to win. And he was like, you cannot say that. I said, I just said it. You are going to win. I was that confident in his ability and what he has done and what he continues to do. The night of the awards and his category came up. And they started to read the story of who was the winner. And I wrote the story so I know from the beginning what it's going to sound like. And when the first 3 words were said, I said, in my mind, I said, he got it. And I began to stood up before the story was finished being read. And he won. He never in his wildest dreams thought he would win such an award. But he did the work and I rewrote the story. And that is why I go to work every single day. The results like that. For
Yeah.
them, not for me. And then I brag about it to all the guests in the hotel.
Yeah. There's something else that I'm taking away from that story, which is that you don't just throw out accolades on anyone, that you're also very deliberate about. And I think that also relates to that idea of authenticity, right? Because if you're just throwing out compliments and nominations for awards every day, they kind of lose their meaning, right? So you're very thoughtful about that process of when someone is really deserving.
Yes, I never want anyone to feel that it's just, like you said, it's just, or it's for example, it's someone once told me, I always tell employees thank you at the end of the day. And I've never understood why every single day I need to say it. My praise for my employees, my whether it's with Scotland had something called first class cards. When you give a first class to someone who goes above and beyond. In my 4 years at my last with Scotland Hotel, I gave out 4 first class cards. And those 4 employees that received those cards, they went and they framed them because they know the those aren't given up unless they're truly, truly, truly deserving. And while I appreciate the
Mm-hmm.
work my employees do, handing out compliments, handing out first class cards, even extra praise should be not just become the norm so the employees devalue it, but should be the exception so they really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that kind of relates to my next question about how you empower others. What can you say about that?
How do I?
Empower.
I'm going to give you an example and I want to answer the question. When I became a front office manager leader, I had a general manager who was very soft spoken, extremely soft spoken. He used to come to me and he gave me a promotion to that position. And then he would come and give me an assignment. He'd walk over to my office, ask if I was busy. Of course, I'm going to say no. And then he would give me the assignment. And Rachel, he never came back. He never followed up. Never asked how I was doing with the assignment. So the first time I said, okay, maybe he forgot. I did the assignment, got it complete. Then the second assignment he gave me a couple of weeks later, he did the same thing. And the third, the same thing. I said, after the third, I said, he's never going to ask me again. He gave me assignments that entire year and a half that I was in that position. And he never followed up. He never asked how I was doing. He never checked back. And after the third time, I said, you know what? I will never disappoint him because he has had enough confidence in me that I will do whatever needs to be done and empower me to empower me in that way. I will never disappoint him. And I always got assignments done on time. I took that same method with my staff. I empower them by if I give them an assignment, I don't check back, I don't follow up. And the expectation now with them with me is that okay, he's not coming back. So I better get it done to the best of my ability. I empower my staff
Right.
not just in words, but I demonstrate that to them. I empower them in 2 ways. One,
Mhm.
especially if there's a guest issue, I trust you will make the right decision. I trust you will make the right decision. I tell them all the time. If they come to me for the answer, I say, I trust you will make the right decision. Sometimes they walk to my office, they look at me, and they turn around and they walk back out because they realize he's not going to tell me anything besides, I trust you will make the best decision. So I do it that
Yeah.
way. And then I also ensure them that even if the decision is the wrong one, I rather they make it than they don't. Because I don't want them to have to come to me
Yep.
every time they have to make a decision because they are smart enough to be able to do it on their own. And by that way, get them prepared for the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the I think the default for many leaders is to do that constant follow-up and asking, "Where are you at? What are you doing?" And what's different about your approach is that you, just by the very fact that you have placed someone in that position or you have given them that assignment, there it already comes with this implied trust and confidence in their autonomy to be able to carry it out.
Yes.
And it's then the onus is on them on whether to disappoint you or not, or to excel in the way that you expect them to. And that's empowering.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, for sure. So what are you proud of?
I'm proud of the leaders that have grown, that have those that will come with me, under me, who are just a regular employee, who are now managers and leaders in this industry. You know, most of them are young ladies that I mean, and I speak about a couple of them as well because I, this is why I do what I do. I feel so proud, and I call them by name many times because they're examples of persons that were willing to be under my tutelage and became superstars. And I don't use the word superstars too loosely. They are superstars. One works for Disney Corporation, who when I first met her, and this is not, I don't mean this in a negative way at all. Her only job was that she was a babysitter. That's it, a babysitter. And she came to work for me and she
Mm-hmm.
said she wanted to be the best front desk agent possible. I said, okay. And she said, I want you to make it happen. I said, you want me to make it happen? She said, yes, I want to be under your guidance. And I said, are you sure? Because Rachel, I'm a very tough leader. And she said she wants to be the best. And she and I worked together for an entire year. And I can say this much. Every single thing we needed to accomplish, she was there getting it done on time and before time. Every assignment she had, she got it complete. Every place we needed to go, she was there. We worked at 10 o'clock at night sometimes, she was there, and back at 6 o'clock in the morning, she was there. She is one of the best professionals in this country, bar none. When she left the Ritz-Carlton and she went to work for Disney Corporation, and they have a jewel and a diamond in her. And there are others that have worked for me that are in director positions now, and others. That's what I am proud of most. My goal is to have as much employees become leaders as much as possible, because that's why I'm. There is nothing that fuels the fire in me more than that. Leadership and growing the next set of leaders. That excites me.
Yeah.
They don't have to even
Yeah.
pay me to do that. I just do it.
Yeah. There's a lot to be proud of there, and that is for sure, yeah, one of the most important definitions of leadership is being able to grow the next generation of leaders.
Absolutely.
So I really admire you for that.
I
Yeah.
just hired a young lady,
So we've talked about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and I made
Go
this
ahead.
quick. I just hired a young lady who I met. She was working in the gas station. I walked in the gas station to get a drink, and she literally walked by me. She smiled. She said, good evening, I'll be right with you. And she went outside. She did it quickly and she went back inside and she said, how can I help? In that 10 seconds, I said to myself, she needs to work for me. So I left and I came back and I gave her my card. I said, have you ever worked in hospitality? She said, no. I said, do you know what you just did? You smiled, you greeted me, you apologized, you dealt with the other guests, and you came back and said, Rachel, I hired her 2 weeks later. She's been with me now for 60 days. And she is a superstar in the making. And she came to me and she said, can you get me there? And I was so excited. I said, oh my God, can I get you there? We will get you there together. She will be our next year in hospitality, and you probably will hear her name in 5 years, a household name, because she is that good. And we're going to groom her to make sure she becomes a leader in hospitality. That's what excites me, to grow the next set of leaders.
That's yeah. It's very inspiring. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about your self-confidence and where that came from. A little bit maybe the opposite of that is, when have you underestimated yourself?
When have I underestimated myself? Probably the one time I can think about is, and this was not when I was in a position, but when I was applying for a position. I think this is the only time that I was doubting myself. And it was a position for the Ritz-Carlton Rancho Mirage Hotel in California. They were to open. It was a hotel that was going to be opening, and I applied for a position, which and in most of my hospitality career, I haven't applied for much. I've just been given promotions after promotion. So I was applying, so I was kind of like new for me, even though I was in Ritz-Carlton for 6 years. So I applied for the position. Recruiter called me a month later. He said he and I spoke. We had a great conversation. He said he's going to follow me to the hiring team. I said, great. Then the front office manager called me one day. We had an interview, and the interview went. I thought it went so bad. It was so terrible. When I got off the phone with him, I hung up the phone and I put my head on the desk. I said, "Oh my God, I just totally, totally, totally failed that interview." It was so bad. I called my wife right away and I said, "Honey, I messed up. The interview was terrible." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because it was bad. It was so bad." She said, "You're being too hard on yourself." I said, "I'm the one that had an interview. I'm telling you, it was terrible." She said, "Next time." I said, "There is not going to be a next time, honey. There's not going to be a next time. I just failed the interview." She said, "Calm down." She said, "Next time, have a conversation." I said, "Have a conversation?" She said, "Yes, let's have a conversation." In my mind, now I'm saying it's not going to be a chance to have a conversation because the interview was that bad. Lo and behold, 2 hours later, his boss called for an interview. I said to myself, "Oh, yeah, we're going to have a conversation." I did 3 interviews after that one, and I had a conversation in each one. And I went, after the first interview, I was doubting myself. My confidence wasn't as it usually was. That was the only time I doubted myself. But by the time I got to the last interview, I knew I was going to get the job because my confidence had come back. And I did get
Hmm.
the job, and I went to Rancho Mirage, California to work. It was a great experience as well. I think that's the only time in my hospitality career that I have doubted myself. Every other time, confidence was where it usually was.
Yeah. So, what did you specifically learn in that experience?
From a confidence level, I learned even though you may not fully believe in yourself at that time, stick to do what you're used to doing. Something it's like for example, if you have a routine and you wake up one day and something throws you off, even if you're off and you don't feel like doing what you know you need to do, just stick to the routine. That taught me something that there may be another time in the future where I'm not as confident as I usually am. But if I'm not, there is an answer. Seek and find it and then go forward. So I do realize that my confidence will not be there every single time since that interaction, since that interview. But if it happens,
Right.
I know exactly what I need to do now.
Right. And so it's like some element of trust in, yeah, your deeper knowing of things and your deeper knowledge and experience, that got you there in the first
Yeah,
place, right?
yes,
The way I was also interpreting your partner, your wife's advice was that it was kind of like a reframing of, we make such a big deal of interviews, right?
yes.
And she was reframing it to be like, be yourself, have a conversation, right? Is that the way that she meant to give that
It
advice?
was, and it was, it was single-handedly the best advice I've gotten. And I literally have taken that advice and have a conversation. And I've told everyone that I've spoken to about interviews, organizations I've spoken to in North Carolina and other places. I give them the same advice. Now I said, have a conversation. Because, like you said, interviews are tough. Most persons don't like interviews at all. But if you go and have a conversation with the individual, and when they say have a conversation, I mean learn a little bit about them, and then you can have the conversation with them. It's so much easier, and they see more of you versus just someone who's there
Mm,
going through the process and probably afraid on the inside. Her advice I've taken and I've spread it along to others who have taken it and it helped them
yeah.
be successful.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so much more about then making a connection
Exactly.
with that person rather than this kind of hierarchical, awkward relationship with each other.
Exactly.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm going to remember that one. Very good. What leadership skill do you most rely on to lead people and teams?
My listening skills. I I am very I like to listen to what people say but I like to listen to what they don't say. I read their body language, but I look at their eyes. I hear the words, but I look at the reaction and the facial expression as soon as they stop talking. I use my listening skills to be able to lead my teams. And sometimes they'll bring a situation to me, I'll listen, and after they finish explaining it, I won't have the answer as they expect me to have the answer right away. I usually say, I'll think about it. But the one thing leaders must always do, the leaders must always ensure the employees know that they are listening and not hearing them,
Yeah.
listening to them. If employees don't feel
Yeah.
that you're listening to them, they're going to stop coming to you. And if they stop coming to you, that's the worst thing. Because
Yeah.
there are things you will never know about that's going on.
Such an important skill for leaders. And I actually, I wish myself that I had learned that much younger. And I actually shared that on the Checking In podcast with Miranda. They asked me what advice would I give my 20-something-year-old self, and that was exactly the advice that I would have given myself, was to listen better, listen more, and develop those skills. So that's spot on.
It's critical. It's critical. And nowadays, it has to be listening without cell phone in your hand, listening without looking at a computer. Just give them your undivided attention.
Yeah.
That's 2-3 minutes. Because if for you, it might just be something else along the day, but for them, maybe the most important burning issue they have all day. And the fact that you're listening to them means a lot.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So we're just about to come to the end of our chat today, but before we go, I'd love to ask, what vision would you pursue if you had everything you needed to succeed right now?
I would spend my time speaking to every 11th and 12th grader in this country, encouraging them to go into hospitality and showing them a roadmap of how this business can take them around the world. Around the world. I would spend every day, I'd be in every high school, a different high school every single day, except Saturday and Sundays, and speaking to them
Yes.
passionately about getting involved in this business. There's so many different aspects of it, and you just can literally take you around the world. That's what I'll be doing.
Yeah. Well, that is such a great one. We need so much more of that ambassadors for the industry, because it's such a wonderful industry with so many important experiences and the ability to rise and grow into higher level professional positions.
Yes.
There's so much opportunity for
So
sure.
much. Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience today?
If you're ever in Key Largo, Florida, come by my hotel. Get a coach by Marriott. There's a wonderful gem for that hotel, and but more importantly, there's a fantastic staff. And anyone who hears this, if you're involved in hospitality, there's a lot of work we need to do. The Women's Alliance is a great organization that just started, and there's so much more we need to do. And everyone just do their part. Just do their part.
That's wonderful, Horace. Well, thank you so much for that final message, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Rachel Vandenberg. This is the Travel Leader Podcast, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.